Diana Airimitoaie and Rachel Mullis, research officers from the Office for National Statistics, working on the Growing Up in England project, known as Data for Children, are your presenters in this video. The ONS is the largest producer of independent official statistics in the UK that provides the data and analysis on UK's population.
The Growing Up in England Proof of Concept dataset was produced in collaboration with Administrative Data Research UK as part of the Data for Children partnership. The partnership was made up of the Office for National Statistics, the Children's Commissioner's Office, and ADI UK, who identified a growing need to bring together detailed attainment, demographic, and household information to help identify disadvantaged and vulnerable children. ONS bring expertise in data linkage and data curation, and we are accredited processors of data under the Digital Economy Act 2017, and accredited as a provisioner of de-identified data through our Secure Research Service, which is the secure platform for researchers to access and analyse a number of ONS and government datasets. The Children's Commissioner's Office represent the interests of the data subjects, the children themselves, and they do a lot of work with policymakers to ensure that research and policy take into account the views and needs of young people. Finally, ADI UK are a UK-wide partnership made up of ADR Wales, ADR Scotland, ADR Northern Ireland and the Office for National Statistics, as well as a coordinated UK-wide strategic hub, who work to facilitate greater access to administrative data across government for research use. The Proof of Concept dataset is a linked dataset trying to address the challenges of identifying vulnerable children in England and related gaps in existing data available for research. At ONS, we run the census, which collects a range of demographic and household information every 10 years across England and Wales. The last census took place in March 2011. From the census, we have variables such as religion, ethnicity, country of birth, nationality, caring responsibilities, long-term limiting illness, and economic status of individuals in the census, but also of others in their household. We've linked this to the Department for Education's Feasibility All Education Dataset for England, and this contains attainment information from secondary school and college qualifications, such as GCSEs, which are typically taken at 16 in England, and A-levels, which are taken at 18. The Department for Education's All Education Dataset for England covers individuals between the ages of 14 and 29 in August 2015 and follows them back to 2002. The Growing Up in England Proof of Concept dataset is based on a cohort taken from the AEDE, covering 17 to 22-year-olds in 2015, and follows them back to the ages of between 13 and 18 in 2011. The linked Proof of Concept dataset contains approximately 2 million children in 2011 and 8 million household members.
The Growing Up in England Proof of Concept dataset was created by taking the feasibility AED dataset, which contained over 161 million records for the 2000-2001 academic years up to 2014-2015 academic years, and selecting the year closest to 2011 census date. This resulted in a final subset for linkage, named the Feasibility AED 2010-2011, with 2,250,655 records, and link it to 2011 census, which contained 54,500,000 records, and this resulted in 2,035,212 linked records and in 215,366 unlinked records. Overall, the dataset contained around 2 million children linked to 8 million household members. Census data in the feasibility AED do not contain a single common identifier that could be used to easily link corresponding records from one dataset to the other. In other words, it does not contain a unique number for each individual that is common to both datasets. Therefore, a series of match keys containing different combinations of anonymized person information, including name, date of birth, gender, and postcode, was used to link the feasibility AED to the 2011 census. So this table shows the match keys used for linkage and their combination of anonymized person information. It should be noted that match key 9 and 10 were not used in this linkage because 2011 census data did not collect middle name as a separate variable. Each match key is applied to the dataset in an order whereby the amount of error allowed between the datasets is increased gradually. In this way, the best quality links are formed earlier. We can see that out of 2,250,655 records on the AEDE, 90% link to a corresponding census record, whereby 2/3, that is 66.38% of the linked AEDE records linked to 2011 census on the strongest match key, that is match key 1, followed by 19.75% which linked on the match key 3. Matches made in the early stages are given priority over those made on later links. These are the weaker links. More detailed methodology can be found in the link below. To evaluate the quality of the linkage, a series of age distributions was created with the datasets using this linkage. The age distributions showed that there is consistency between the feasibility AD subset for linkage, feasibility AD census link cohort, and the feasibility AD unlinked records, although the proportion of the 14 years old in the unlinked AD is slightly higher. The low number of 13 years old in the linkage outputs reflect the lower proportion of this age within the original feasibility AD files. So in conclusion, the consistency across age distribution shown on this slide indicates that there was no age bias in the linkage. As mentioned earlier, 250,366 AD records did not link to a 2011 census record. This is 10% of the total number of records extracted for the linkage. While we have seen that there are no sizable differences in the age distribution, this suggests that age was not a cause of these records not linking. So we then looked at the border status students. They were of particular interest because they may be listed a different address on feasibility AD to their usual address on the 2011 census. Therefore, a check on the numbers of borders within the unlinked feasibility AD was carried out to check for any linkage bias. This is shown in this table, and it can be seen that 212,449 records were not borders, that is 98% of the total number. So we can conclude that this is not solely responsible for records not linking to census, and further investigation is needed.
The linked Growing Up in England data is a valuable and unique resource as it brings together information relating to personal characteristics of children, their family members and their educational attainment which previously hasn't been captured in one dataset before. This enables insights to better understand how personal and familial characteristics as well as geographies influence educational outcomes to help answer key educational policy questions. To demonstrate the utility and value of this dataset, ONS undertook analysis into educational attainment on the proof of concept data by household characteristics, personal characteristics, characteristics of the mother and father, siblings, as well as other household members of children in the data. The relationship information in the 2011 census data allows us to identify the mothers and fathers of children in the data, as well as their personal characteristics. The graph on this slide shows the child's highest educational attainment achieved in the data by the number of parents that recorded having a disability in the 2011 census. The proof of concept dataset was created to evaluate the feasibility of linking administrative attainment records to the 2011 census. Research was conducted by internal ONS staff to assess whether this new linked dataset added value to the existing evidence base surrounding the educational outcomes of children. Findings from this analysis were published in a report on the ONS website in July 2020. Since the completion of the proof of concept work, we have begun building the Growing Up in England Wave 1 dataset. Unlike the proof of concept data, this will be made available to the wider research community via the ONS's Secure Research Service later this year. The Wave 1 data will have additional age ranges from the Department for Education's Feasibility AEDE, as well as further education and higher education data from college and university level qualifications in England. We are also working on acquisitions for a Wave 2 of the project and have agreed with the Department for Education on 5 additional datasets from the Feasibility AEDE to include in the project. This will make available further data on vulnerable children, such as children in receipt of free school meals, exclusions and absences data, as well as data on children in need and children looked after. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video presentation on the Growing Up in England project. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about the project, there is contact information and links on this slide. I hope you will enjoy the rest of the talks and presentations being given at this year's International Population Data Linkage Network Conference.